My name's Stu Bottorf. I'm from the Tampa Bay Technology Center, and this presentation is titled How I Fired My Cable Company and Still Enjoy TV, Internet, and a Home Phone. Let me go back to the beginning. I wanted to save money cutting cable. I don't watch much TV myself, and for many years I've just paid the cable bill and used their bundling services like the Internet and a wired home phone. My TV watching wife became an expert using the cable remote. When all else failed, she even learned how to reboot the cable box. To cut cable, I must allow her to feel comfortable accessing the TV. My last cable bill was $153 a month. Cutting quickly became my new passion. But how much would I really save? And was the cable cutting experience worth an aggravating relearning experience in my home? I didn't know the answer to these, but I've worked on it for over a year. This presentation today, I've divided it up into three areas. Television programming, which is very important, and this is where I began. Then I want to talk about internet networking and the Google phone. And finally, we'll talk about a club opportunity. I think it's a good one, and maybe you'll want to look at it for your group. First, we'll start with the programming. My president of my club, Dave Dockery, sent me this letter back, or this email back in July of 2018 about how 33 million people were cutting cable. This was after I had a short presentation on cable cutting at the club previous. We found more articles in the same period of time. This article said, that people are cutting the cable and they might be getting a better experience, but they're not saving much money. Here's another article that says, cord cutters beware, prices are going up. And here they talked about a $5 rise in DirecTV Now, and Google YouTube TV has gone up also. Here I found another article, and this one is fairly recent, and it talks about, an analyst here, it talks about how many people have steadily decreased using cable. And the number is down a lot. And he said that the number of cable customers are going to decrease over years. And he talks about some of the services that are offered, and $40 a month seems to be the bottom line for a streaming service. To look at another way, Google suddenly finds itself as one of the most important distributors of cable TV content. If Google makes their YouTube TV work great, they won't just be the leaders of internet technology, they'll also start to take over being the most important distributor of TV in the home. Last September, I did the first presentation of this subject, cutting the cord. And we had an overpacked meeting house that afternoon. And I repeated it again in November, and we did it in the evening, and we had a good crowd there also. Seems like people were interested in cutting the cable. About 9 months ago, Huey Poplock, who lives down in Bradenton, did a presentation for your afternoon group, the virtual technology conference, and his subject was cut the cord, things to consider before firing your cable company. That was part of the reason why I picked firing my cable company as a done deal when I made this presentation. But one of the things that came out of Huey's presentation, he said, or somebody said, TV as we know it will disappear in the next few years. That's very evident. And the items I initially considered when I first started doing this, on the TV side, the antenna, streaming packages, both free and paid, new hardware. What new hardware would I have to buy? Do I need a virtual private network? What is IPTV? I had never heard the term before. And on the internet side, what do I need to do to keep my Google Home phone, the voice over internet protocol? First, we looked at the antenna. As you can see, there's a picture of a small antenna on the top and the bigger antenna on the bottom. I've got one of each. My one on the bottom is in my crawl space in my house. For those of you that live in the north, we don't have attics in Florida. We have crawl spaces. And so I have one up in the crawl space that I've learned to like. The antenna is the smallest cost. They'll give you the greatest savings. Almost everyone in our county is within the Tampa antenna coverage area. The transmission is from Riverview, which is less than 45 miles away across the bay. And the average, most people can get at least 30 channels. And some of them might not be the channels you want to watch, but they are out there. If you go to a site called tvfool.com and put in your exact address and you put in the height of your antenna, they'll draw you a map similar to the one shown on the left. And it will show you what direction you need to point in to get different channels in your area. And they color code them. The ones in green you should be able to get with an indoor antenna. The ones in yellow and pink you need an outdoor antenna for. And down in the bottom they give you more information. Some of the channels don't broadcast on the frequencies, the displays on the TV. They broadcast on a different frequency, and so you can find that information out on the bottom. Turns out, in my area, you need to point the antenna 105 to 109 degrees or east-southeast. And so I took our club, I took a Google map of our club, looked at the satellite view, blew it up, and kind of tended to draw where we would need to point an antenna if I did it inside our clubhouse. If you look back right where that red arrow is, you'll see that's about where our clubhouse is inside this office complex. 105 degrees southeast. It means that you go through lots of walls in this building. I'd say 6 or 8 walls, some of them concrete block. You have to go through the corner of another building, and across the street there's other buildings. Not the ideal location, but I was able to bring an antenna in, a little TV, and we were able to get like 20 channels inside this crowded area, even at our club location. The antenna costs, cheap antennas like the one on the top are maybe $10, and you can get a very fancy one for $100. You might have to pay somebody a few dollars to put it up on your roof if you're going to. Buy an antenna with an amplifier if you're more than 30 miles away from the transmitter. It's worth the extra cost. It's only like an extra $10 in cost. Buy it from somewhere where you can return it if it doesn't work. The antenna is the smallest cost that delivers the greatest savings. This is a picture from Pat's setup. She used to brag she got over 70 channels from her house, and some people didn't believe her. So she took a scan of her channels, and at the time she got 76 channels on her TV set with an antenna. And right now, this was done months ago. Right now, one of the channels has put 2 more channels online. So now Pat gets 78 in this location. TV Guide. If you need TV Guide for all those local stations, you can go to titantv.com. They have apps for Google and for Apple. And you can get one of their apps and put it on. You'll notice that their screen looks much like the old TV Guide. They're color-coded, different color for movies, for sports, for news, and so on. And you're able to see what's on every one. You just have to pick up here at the top, broadcast stations in the bar instead of the cable TV. You can record off your antenna connection too. The silicon dust and TiVo make very nice boxes. Some of these boxes get to be expensive though, and some can record at 4 stations at the same time, or play back 4 tracks at the same time to different TVs in the home. Some of them are very nice, and but they are expensive. Doing the math, my present cost of cable is $153. If we can get by in the house with just an antenna, I would save $1,836 a year. That would be very nice, and maybe a one-time cost of $100 to $200 for the antenna. Everything else we're going to talk about today involves internet. And so somehow you have to realize internet has a cost. How much does internet cost? Somehow at the time we thought $40 or $50 a month might be a fair price. Do you need wireless? For a Firestick, you do. So maybe you want to learn those things before you start buying things for cutting the cable. Where do you buy your present internet? Unfortunately, I bought my internet from a local cable company. We have 2 local cable companies, and both of them run through my backyard, and I could go with either of them. My present company if I drop my TV watching, I have to pay $75 a month for just internet. If I'm a new customer walking in the door, they'll give it to me for $45 a month. They charge me $30 a month just because I'm a present customer. I could pay more forever, or I could disconnect for 30 days and then return as a new user, or I could switch the internet service provider. I could switch from one cable company to another, or I could try to use a different internet technology. Talk more about that later. The internet and the math, now when I have to pay, if I paid $50 for cable, and I didn't consider 75, but if I paid 50, I'd have to pay, I'd only save $1,200 a year. Still substantial, but that would just be internet-only service. There's 2 ways of watching TV. You have to figure out in your household what you want to watch before you pick the streaming source. If you watch TV in real time as it's broadcast, then you probably want to look at these types of clones: Sling, YouTube, DirecTV, and PlayStation View. I think DirecTV now is called ATT DirecTV, or ATT TV. The millennial way of watching is people that watch this way like to watch when they want to watch and when they want to choose to watch. Sometimes they like to binge watch. They could spend an afternoon watching 10 episodes of a show. And they could fast forward and skip commercials. Streaming on demand clones or services you might use are Netflix, Prime, Vudu, Hulu. There's a bunch of them out there. But you see, you use different sources for how you like to watch TV. That might help. There are a couple free streamers, and some of them are very good, and they are 100% legal. Pluto has a very nice service that they've offered that's been up for 2 or 3 years, where they've got movies, news, sports. There's some nice things on ABC, CBS, NBC has things. One of the first presentations I made of this, one of the gentlemen in the audience was an investor and had a need to know CNBC. He wanted to know if he could see CNBC with a free service. And we found out that it does exist on Pluto, and it's on 24/7. So if all you needed to watch was CNBC, if you got Pluto, you could watch it. There's also another service called EarthCam TV, where you can see different views from around the world 24/7. It's kind of nice. Sometimes I like to watch it instead of just watching a blank screen. If I'm conversation in the room, you might want to put this up on the wall to see. Newsmax TV is another service I watch a lot of. It's more conservative talk station. And there's also special interest groups, religious and shopping networks. But remember, it all requires an internet connection. And remember, this is all 100% legal. I call it my white area. And you'll see there's some paid streamers out there too. And these are 100% legal. Some of the services, I mentioned them before: Sling, YouTube TV, DirecTV, PlayStation View. They're going to cost you $27, I think, is the cheapest right now. And I found PlayStation View has a service that goes for $85 a month. So some of them are expensive. On-demand media, you pay $10 and up, depending upon what kind of programs are on them. Amazon, Showtime, HBO, you can find all kinds of pay services that are out there, and these are 100% legal. This is always in the white area. So if I take the antenna and the internet and YouTube TV, I had YouTube TV for a week. They'll give you a free week's time to try it, which is nice because you can use it and see what it is. Here I'd save only $53 a month, and I'd only save $600 a year. The savings isn't as good as what it was before because I've got to pay $100 a month just for the internet and just for the service I'm using. And I need a one-time cost. I'd probably have to buy something to make it work, or I could use a TV. So if I had more than one service, like I have Amazon Prime also, I cut my savings down by $12 a month because I've got to pay for it also. And so you see additional services. If I added 2 expensive services in here at $50 a month, I pay more for this service than what I would for my present cable. That's not good. So let's look at, depending upon your TV, streams may require wireless internet plus an add-on. And most people, when they think of add-ons, think of Roku, Amazon Firestick. Apple TV makes a very nice add-on too. Most times people think of the Amazon Firestick or the Roku, but the Apple system probably is the best one. The only trouble is it's very expensive. The Apple system, I think, lists in price for $179 to buy the box here. Nice thing about it is a box that has a port for an Ethernet plug, so you do not need wireless with the Apple TV. The Roku streaming stick is nice, but it uses a proprietary operating system. And on the proprietary operating system, we cannot add different tools on it. You can add what Roku allows you to add to the system, which means they're always add-ons from Roku. The Amazon Fire Stick has been the way I've tried to work things because it uses a version of Android that we can sideload different applications on. The hardware here, let me talk about some of the hardware. You can buy a NVIDIA Shield. It's probably the best device you can use for streaming. It costs $179, and sometimes it's on sale for $139, but you never see it less than that. NVIDIA Shield is very nice. It uses a version of Android called Android TV. Android TV exists on very few devices, and it is a very nice operating system. The Amazon Firestick, let me point out here, the newer Fire Sticks all come with a remote that has a power button to turn your TV on and off, which is located at the upper left of the remote, and it comes with a plus and minus key down here that allows you to regulate volume, and has a mute switch on it also. This made the Amazon Fire Stick something that my wife could learn to use. She could turn the TV on and off and change channels all with the same control. She had problems trying to use two controls at the same time. There is a version now of this Fire Stick that is made for 4K TVs, and the 4K one costs $50. I think the other one costs $30 or $35. They were $15 and $25 a couple weeks ago when Amazon had their Prime Days. So you will find them on sale. Sometime look at Best Buy. They match the Amazon prices. Look out for these boxes. You'll see them advertised often on Amazon or other places. They're Chinese boxes that they say they have very good specs. Some of these have more, like the one here on the bottom has more RAM than what the Fire Stick or the NVIDIA Shield have. But if you read the reviews, look down on the bottom and read the reviews, and you'll find that many of these start off very good, and they have a heat problem, and within a week they've burned up and there's nothing left after them. I've never burned up a Fire Stick, and I've run them 24/7, so I feel a lot better there. There are some free streamers that I call my less white area. There is one called Mobdro, and you can get this and sideload it on your Fire Stick very easily, and this will get you lots of live TV, the things you normally would have on your cable TV, things like CNN News, House and Garden, those kind of channels. There's another one called Cinema Free. They have lots of movies here, and you can search for movies that are even still playing in the theaters. You can search for movies that are older. You can search by name, by genre. It's a nice utility if you like to watch movies. They have archived TV shows in Cinema Free also. We found there was something like 20 years of Law and Order that's archived. Every episode. You can watch everything from when it started. If you was a binge watcher, this would be ideal for you to use. So these can be viewed on a phone or a computer also. These utilities, they run off an APK. So as long as you can install an APK on your Android device, it works. I call it less white because I have no idea if Mobdro or Cinema Free have paid any copyrights. To be safe, you should use a VPN, because that way whoever you're buying your internet from cannot tell that you're streaming content that might not be legal. VPN, a virtual private network, is an encrypted tunnel that exists between your Fire Stick or whatever device you're using back to the VPN server. And it's like a pipe. All your information is inside the pipe. Your internet service provider passes the pipe, but they can't see inside of it. And so they can't see inside your tunnel. And so this makes sure your internet service provider cannot see what you're doing with your with your internet connection. This also works very good for other transactions you use in the home also. It improves your security for banking transactions, for anything you use, because it's an encrypted tunnel. We know we have one encrypted tunnel already on our browsers. When it says HTTPS, we've got that. Now this is another layer of encryption, encrypted. Cable companies can't see your activity. To be safe, assume the feds maybe can see everything you do online. And I picked a company called Private Internet Access. It ranks as one of the better ones. It works with Android, Linux, Windows, Chromebooks, Macs, and you can install it directly on some routers. The cost, I just paid my after my first year for my second year, and it cost $40 for up to 5 concurrent connections. 5 at the same time. Other than that, one of them won't work. There's plenty of other VPN vendors. Some offer a lifetime fee. Others are free. Be careful of the free ones. I don't know why anybody would offer one free, except maybe if they were going to record and sell your data. So be careful of that. IPTV. I didn't know what it was when I started. Internet Protocol Television. Think of it as cable TV on steroids delivered through the internet, but for a fraction of the price. Better savings in streaming services. IPTV pricing usually is $5 to $25 a month. Probably you'll need hardware for your IPTV, maybe $50 to $200 one time. It requires a VPN service, $40 a year, plus a small measure of technical skill. Know that the internet is like an iceberg. Only a small part of the internet sticks out of the water, and that's the part that we normally do all our searching on, and this is where we see public sites. In the deep web comes those things that are banking, medical things, things that are private, and government stuff, and then there is a dark web that's at the bottom. And that dark web has lots of activity that's not legal, but I would assume our IPTV exists someplace in the deep web, someplace where it's not easily seen. I doubt it's located in the U.S. You've got maybe more than 1,000 channels when you buy an IPTV service, and they all come in HD quality or better. There's questions of reliability, but hey, those of us that have dealt with cable through the years know that cable isn't 100% reliable too. There's times we have to call for service there. I have a son-in-law who was really into sports programming, and he liked the IPTV because they had all kinds of programming that would cost extra money. Things like Major League Baseball, the NFL League, the NHL League, some college things. If you could get all those channels at the bottom, plus HBO, Cinemax, Showtime, Stars, and others, all for one price of less than $20 a month, it's a good deal. IP provider plans, you have to figure out what you need. I first thought that I'd have to make sure I could get the channels I wanted off each service. And Turner Classic Movies is what Jean likes to watch. Oxygen, she watches some of the mysteries on there. And Fox News, I like to listen to that sometimes in the evening. I want an interface that Jean can manage on her own, something like our cable box remote that's hardware dependent. So Jean wanted we wanted these channels, and we found that the easy way is to start looking around at different services. I found the best way to look for services was through YouTube presenters. Google, Amazon, and Facebook, they all limit content about IPTV. They're hard to find information out about them. Even if you put in the direct names of some of the vendors, you won't get links. The best place I've found to get links is in the YouTube descriptions, where it says below the picture where it says click here for more info. You'll find a lot of info there. These two presenters, Electrical MD and Troy Point, I found have been excellent presenters. They say things straightforward. You can get a lot of good data from them. I subscribe to their newsletters and look at them often. IPTV providers, I've checked these services. There's a service called Gears Reloaded. It costs $18.75 a month. Area 51 has an APK, and a 2-user license is $5 for every month, or I pay it $15 every 3. And the Players Club spelled with K, has a new APK, and it costs $5 a month. There are lots of others. I've just listed some names here. There's lots more. All you have to do is start looking around in the YouTube section, and you'll find lots more. So if I did my math here, in my present cable, if I paid $50 for my internet, and then I took all those other things I'm doing, the Gears Reloaded, the Area 51, the Players Club, the VPN, I'd be spending $82 a month, and I'd save $70 a month. I'd save $800 a year, and I receive lots of additional program content I did not receive before. I've loaded some utilities on my Firestick. I just wanted to show some of them here. I loaded that one at the top up here is for speed testing and range finding, and you can see pictures like this. You can make sure you find your signal, get in the right place for it. The downloader is an Amazon utility. You get this, and then you can get all the others here. You got to get this one first. Troy Point has a rapid app installer I've used, Aptoid, Speed Test, ES File Explorer, Mouse Toggle, Send Receive, Set Orientation, some Android utilities, and I've even loaded the Chrome or the Silk browser. And all these things come for free. None of this costs any money. So you can put it all on the Firestick, so still have plenty of room. I bought a few hardware things for the Firestick also. And I bought this Bluetooth mini keyboard mouse, so I can type things in easily. If I need a mouse, I just need to brush my finger across the pad. I use some gender changers here so I can keep the Firestick in front of the TV, and I don't have to keep constantly going in back of the TV, plugging things in and out. And finally, I just broke down and bought a USB on-the-go cable. This will allow you on the Firestick to take some information if you downloaded something, to download it and take it off the stick, or to put something on the stick you got from elsewhere. Cost of internet access. We got to get through this. The internet service providers I found were expensive. If I bought the service, keep the service I've got, I pay $75 a month. The new customer with the opposite cable company at the time cost $55 a month, and I had to do a 2-year contract. Fios isn't available in my neighborhood, but I did learn on this list, the one on the bottom, Beverly pays $500 a year for Sprint Calyx 4G hotspot service, and she was paying $42 a month. And I was looking to find a way, could I do better than these? I learned there's something called an unlimited discounted nonprofit reseller plan. It came about because a company named Clear Communications came to the FCC. Clear was from New Zealand, and they came to the FCC and wanted to distribute internet signals, streaming service via my cell phone, and they wanted additional frequency spectrum. They had a service called WiMAX they wanted to use. This was in the early 2000s. They were well ahead of their time, and the FCC granted them the extra frequencies they wanted, but made them add this plan called an unlimited discounted nonprofit reseller plan in return. In time, Sprint bought out Clear Communications, and Sprint owned the WiMAX network. Over time, Sprint spent their time and money developing their Wi-Fi network. Eventually, they eliminated the WiMAX network, but the unlimited discounted nonprofit plan stayed, even as they developed into a 4G LTE service. Eventually, Sprint offered hotspots for their customers, of this unlimited discounted plan, and Franklin and Cool Spot hotspots were there. There's also a company called Mobile Beacon that licenses some of this for nonprofits. I looked in, there's only two ways to buy this unlimited discounted nonprofit plan that I can find. And one is the KLEX Institute that's in New York, and one is PC for People. The KLEX is the one that Bev had, and she pays $500 a year for a membership. And because she's nice enough to give them $500, they give her a hotspot and a year of internet service in return. PC for People has a different routine. You pay $80 outright for your hotspot, and you pay $135 a year for your service. When KLEX, you get the hotspot with a SIM set up in it. Oh, they also give you a T-shirt, and you become a KLEX member. And they also give you, I think, a VPN. I heard that also. PC for People's, you pay them the money, but you have to get there. Your eligibility is based on either being a nonprofit or on income eligibility. I picked PC for People. Mobile Beacon provides modems and all the stuff for above, and the plan uses the Sprint 4G service with a Franklin 850 or the CoolPad Surf modem. You can, there's some facts on the reseller plan, but just the only one that's important is there is no data cap and there's no throttling when you exceed a certain amount. There is, the income is fixed. I don't know how this was fixed, but it's fixed at PC for People. You can also apply based on nonprofit status. The Franklin hotspot has cell service in, wireless out. No wired Ethernet ports. You can hook up to 10 devices at the same time. They say you can get 10 hours out of the battery. AC adapter in the cable, you get a manual. You get this fancy little screen on the top that's really in this area of the hotspot, and you can also log into it with a Windows or whatever computer, and you can set it up that way also. It's got a guest account, Sprint support, and it's got WPA2 security. One nice thing it's got is portability. You can pull the plug on this thing when you and take it along. It's battery driven, and I can take my laptop, I can go to the beach, and I can do what I want to do, and I don't have to be plugged into anybody's service. There's a CoolPad Surf is almost the same thing. It uses smart color LEDs to replace the nice display of the other unit. And on the rechargeable battery, they have here a more realistic 5 hours. You can pull a lot of data. I pulled 1 terabyte of data in 1 month in February, and I kind of recorded this. I haven't recorded it since, but I've probably pulled close to this. Some of that was running 2 Firesticks almost full time, 24/7. I have some notes. Hotspot placement is very critical. You've got to put it at the ideal place where you've got both networks working. You know, the cell network has to connect, and you have to be in range of your Wi-Fi signal. Near a window works best for me. The hotspot works 24/7. I get 10 to 15 megabits down, 1 to 3 up. It's quite a change from 100 megabits, but it works. I repurposed my old router into a Wi-Fi range extender, gaining 4 Ethernet ports. That was awfully nice because I needed it for my telephone signal. And I bought a new wavelength Wi-Fi extender to get the signal down into the bedrooms. And this worked out very nice too. It's something you just plugs in the wall and you set it up once and you never have to set it up again. The Google phone works well with my Obadiah VoIP adapter. And so here's the spectrum when I dropped TV. We know I would have had to pay $75 to $55 a month. I bought through PC for Peoples, and I'm paying them about $18 a month this year and $11 in future years. I just wanted to show you this. I put all this together where I'm paying for programming, internet, VPN, and what I'm saving from what I would have paid before. And my savings this year will be $1,225, and my savings next year will be over $1,300. Pretty nice. I cut my cable 3 months ago, and I am still married. And Gina's been a great sport and has actually enjoyed this project along with me. I didn't think she'd ever come along, and she did. Issues I've encountered. There's a learning curve. Lucky I kept the cable and the internet for troubleshooting in the beginning. There's no hotspot antenna data. I'm limited to whatever you might find. It would be nice to have a greater cell signal. I understand there are antennas and there are amplifiers, and I know very little about them, so I'm still looking for help with a 4G cell antenna or amplifier. At any rate, it works. The bane of streaming is buffering. Buffering is where problems could easily exist on your system anywhere in the network. Chances are they're not your problem. I keep telling folks, you know, if you've got 20 or 30 hops, you're only one of those hops. It's 29 times more possible somebody else has a problem with streaming. So when you see one of these symbols and you get that buffering, it's an issue. I find I don't get it all that much anymore. I've got, and when I do have it, by having more than one service, I can switch to another service and often the problem goes away. Slower internet speeds are only a problem if I want to download big files. Otherwise, it works fine. Sometimes I've had 2 streamer issues when she's watching TV and I'm trying to download something. Sometimes that causes the TV to buffer a lot. I've learned to try to avoid those issues. And so slower speed some evening, but it's a very limited, it's very livable situation. We've learned to live this way and we kind of get to like it. At the club, we've had a nice group of streamers who meet with me twice each month called the Cut Club. We combine our knowledge to pay less for cable and internet and to increase our ability to view video content directly from the internet. Some of us are saving $1,000 or more a year and are enjoying the adventure. We meet the first and third Thursdays at 10 o'clock. I try to alternate between self-help and presentations. and tell folks we'll hold your hand and assist you cutting your cable. What happens with 5G? Will I be affected by the Sprint T-Mobile merger? What about the upcoming scary streaming legislation? A lot of this I don't know. So if my hotspot becomes outdated, I'll still save dollars this year. And other cell carriers are now starting to offer better data plans also. I've been following some links about some companies are trying to push legislation in Congress to criminalize streaming from unknown sources. I don't know how they're going to do that, but I'm keeping my eyes on it. Here, the last part is about the offer for your club or others. As nonprofits, we can buy hotspots and internet through PC for Peoples. And they kind of specialize in doing this. The cost is $215 for first year and then $135 in later years. Like Calyx, if your club were to give away internet access to a group of more generous members, let's say they gave you $500 a year, you'd realize a profit of $285 the first year and $365 profit every year afterwards. In our club, that's equal to 5 to 7 members. Our club has $50 membership fee per year. We'd go up to get more money into the club. If you were to sell 10 of these units, you would make $2,800 to $3,000, more than $3,000 a year profit. That's a lot of money. But let's say you were to advertise and you could finally find 100 people. Yeah, you get 28,000 to 30. That's equal to 507. That would double or triple the size of our present club. We could certainly use some income like that. We could upgrade our facility, and we could obviously, if you had the 100 members, you could hire someone to keep track of this system and do a good job with it. Or you might charge less. If you charge less, you'll make less money. But you could do whatever you wanted to once you pay them the $215 and $135 in later years. You'd want to make sure you check the Sprint coverage areas to make sure your area is covered. You'd probably have to advertise to grow your club, and you'll easily beat any other internet service provider plan. We've not found a plan that comes even close to this in cost. And your club's support staff could support people in any location because the hotspots work with Windows, Apple, Linux, Chromebooks, Android, even gamers. Wouldn't that be something if we got gamers to join our club because they could get the cheap internet access? That would be nice. You might assist others getting this affordable technology locally. And I've got information in my links. I've got a resource page that's on the next page. I'll show you the link for it. And I've tried to link everything I've talked about this morning. This presentation is here. It's on my Google Drive account. All these are in my Google Drive account. You can just click them and get them. You can click this and click present and watch it again yourself. There's a full page PDFs are here, and the resource page is right here.